How's it going, everybody? So, this episode I'm going to be making a set of 3 throwing knives. I made these as an inspiration from Adam Celadon. I think I'm pronouncing that right. His channel link is going to be down in the description, as well as a link to a GoFundMe for him. He's been suffering from cancer, and he's world champion knife thrower, or at least a champion knife thrower. I don't know if he's world champion or not, but I've watched his video for a really long time. I hadn't been watching him lately, and I was watching something from Jorg Sprav, or Sprav, one of them. I'm not so great at the foreign names. He was saying that he's still dealing with it. He was recently cleared from his doctors, but he's still got the medical bills. He's still got a recovery road ahead of him. So if he watches this, these are inspired by you, dude. If not, you could send it to him if you feel like it. Yeah, he's been really cool to watch over the years. Dog saying hi. But yeah, got 3 throwing knives. When these are done, his GoFundMe is still active. I'm going to be trying to sell these on eBay. They're not done yet, so that's going to take a little bit of time. And if his GoFundMe is still active, I'm going to be selling these and sending the proceeds to his GoFundMe, because I don't have a whole lot of money myself, and it's a good cause. The first step in making throwing knives is to come up with a drawing that you like. I like this shape. I drew this shape. And make copies. There are 3 copies of this so that I can make 3 identical throwing knives. This way I'm going to be gluing it down. Just some regular old kids construction adhesive, or kids school glue. And I'm using a saw blade. This is an old mill saw blade. I'm using a saw blade to do this because saw blades are blade steel. They're usually pretty good for making knives. I've made a few knives out of old circular saw blades and old table saw blades, and they've worked out pretty well. Actually, they hold an edge fairly nicely. And this one is something my grandpa gave me. It's from a sawmill. I don't think it's ever been used, but I don't have a sawmill of this type. I don't particularly need or want a sawmill of this type. And I'm going to be cutting this out with an angle grinder, so I'm leaving enough space between these two to make the cut. Cut and grind knife blades are kind of the easy way of doing it. You grab a piece of steel and grab some form of abrasive, and you go through and cut out the shape that you like, and from there you're just sharpening it and putting a handle on it. These are throwing knives, so they're not going to have a proper handle. It's just going to be this piece of steel right here. But now we let this dry for a bit. We'll come back and cut them out. Okay, so the papers have dried on the saw blade. This is effectively one giant piece of plate steel, so it's not anything people can't get just because nobody gets a really big saw blade. So I'm going to be cutting it out with an angle grinder. It should make quick work of this. I'm working in my work area, which is admittedly a mess right now, but it's dry and it's kind of raining outside, so I don't really want to work out in that. But I'll be taking the angle grinder, cutting out the shapes, and then once the shapes are all cut out, then I'm going to go through and clamp them together with a C-clamp. I've got a whole bunch of them, but it doesn't matter if they're super fancy or not. They just need to be clamped together to make them even. I guess first I gotta bolt it down because this table is not what you would call good. The top is MDF. I'm going to be replacing it once the weather warms up a bit. But for right now, it's what I've got. So see if that works a little bit better. This is some tough steel. I'm gonna be at this for a bit. Probably gonna be cutting through a lot of discs, but this will definitely take a bit. Well, that was a little bit quicker than I thought it would be. Now I have 3 of these, and Now they're not even, they're not perfect, but what I'm going to have to do is get them lined up, clamped together. This last one's got to cool down a little bit because it's probably very, very hot. But go through, get these all set up together. Tip on that one's toast. I'm going to take a grinding wheel on the angle grinder and go through and make all three pieces of steel the same, because right now they are far from it. It shouldn't take too much time, but these have to cool down a smidge before I can do that. Once I get the shape where I want it, then I can go through and quench it, because once the shape is where it needs to be, I don't need the paper on it anymore. Right now the paper is still necessary. But having this saw blade here isn't anymore. Well, what's left of the saw blade. It is now in pieces. Still a big chunk of steel, but it's no longer usable as what it was. So with these clamped together, I can do I can start lining it up a little bit better. I gotta work a smidge on lining it up now, but once that's done, I'll get to grinding. Once the grinding's done, pretty much done. You just got to put an edge on it and call it a day. Alright, we're grinding. Okay. It's not looking too bad. It's pretty hot. So, what I'm going to do now, and I realize that this is going to be a tool that most people don't have, but I'm going to be using a bench grinder to even things up, get them nice and pretty. And this can be done with the angle grinder. It's just a whole lot faster with the bench grinder. So that's the only reason why I'm doing it. So, 3 knives are all put to shape. Hold them like this and dunk them in some water and separate them. See how well I did. The knives are nice and cold. I'm going to be removing the black protective coating off of these. You know, if you've got something that's got a protective coating like this, you don't have to take it off. I'm taking it off because, well, I live out in the woods, and I know that if something like this lands on the ground someplace where I don't immediately see it, it'll be easily lost. And since I don't intend to keep these, I'm going to follow the same principles for everyone else. If you're making one of these for yourself, you can go through and leave it on. Just know that darker colors are a little harder to find. I've got a belt sander here. I'm going to be using this to remove all the black off of this and cut in the bevels. I find it's easier to make a nice flat bevel with the belt sander than it is pretty much any other way that I've got. Like, I could spend hours upon hours on a stone carving in nice bevels, but you know, that's pretty much just a waste of time for me. Take it on a sander, a few minutes later, it's done. So, let's get working on that. Now, this is a sanding disc on a angle grinder. It's not a flap sander, it's like a sheet of sandpaper that's extra thick. Let's see how that works for surface finish. It's literally just a piece of extra thick sandpaper with a piece of backer. It's definitely shinier. Not perfect, but it's going to take a little bit of work. Go through and break the edges, or break the edge on the back at least, so that it's not really square, and then I'm going to cut in some bevels. That I'm going back to the belt sander. So, 3 blades, and they're not sharp. This one needs to be thinned down a little bit. Same with this one, but they're, throwable in this current state. Let's see if oops. Yeah, it's not really good at throwing them. Don't worry, the table sucks anyway, so. Yeah. A little bit of cleanup, that'll be pretty good. But I think that's all I got for today. If you'd like to support this channel, there's a PayPal link down in the description. There's a Instagram link if you'd like to see what I do on a more regular basis. And if you like what you've been watching, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'm currently really small and could use as much help as I can get. So, y'all have fun. Bye.